Mazel tov.
Separate seating?
No, young Israel people sat with Orach Chaim people together at the same table, the men.
Okay. Oh. So it's mixed. Wow, how wild.
A lot of people I didn't know.
Okay, we're on Tes Amud Aleph, Megillah 9. Armele Abaya. Mayu Kim Tilayisa. How did you explain? Our Baraisa, our Mishnah said that Sforim can be written in any language, and Tefillah mezuzahs have to be written in Hebrew. But we brought another Baraisa that said that in order for it to be kosher, it has to be b'ksav ashuris. So first, lo kashakan b'gufan shalanu, we said as long as it's written in Hebrew alphabet, even if you wrote it like in the beginning, Aleph, Yud, Nun is in, and the Taf Aleph, and beginning. So b'gufan shalanu would be okay. B'gufan shalahan, if it's their alphabet, that's the brisa that says that it's not good. Then, but why did the Baraisa say that if you have a Hebrew word written in Aramaic or an Aramaic word written in Hebrew, but even if you wrote a Hebrew word in Hebrew, if you didn't write it in Ksav Ashuri, wouldn't be good. And Loikasha, the Mishnah and the Brisa, Harabanan, who permit any language, Harav Shem Gamliel, who permits Hebrew or at the most Yavonis. Right, so Irab Shem Gamliel Hayeki Yavonis. So that the Brisa that says it has to be written in Ksav Ashuri won't fit Rav Shimon Gamliel because he says you're allowed to write it in Greek. So Loikasha kan b'sfarim, kan b'tfilim mezuzahs. That means Sfarim, Sifrei Torah, have more latitude, can be written in another language. Tfilim mezuzahs have to be written in Ksav Ashur. Why? Tfilim mezuzahs my time mishum dichsibu v'hayu advarim ha'eleh, which means b'hav yosenu you have to write it the way it was written in the Torah. However, that doesn't fit Ma Targum Shekosvu Mikra Ika. Bishmat, that means we said if you wrote an Aramaic word in Hebrew, Bishmat Torah, you can find an example in the Sefer Torah of an Aramaic word, Iker Yigar Sadusa. When Lavan and Yaakov built a monument for a bris between them, they called it Yigar Sadusa. So if you took that Aramaic word and wrote it in Hebrew, that would be a problem. But in Tefillin and Mezuzahs El Hachi, my Targum, there's no Aramaic words in the Parsha of Kriya Shema. So we have to have another way of being metaret. Eloi Kasha, Kan b'Megillah. The Megillah can be written in any language. B'Sfarim cannot be written in another language. Megillah, my time to chsiv bo kichsavam v'choshonom, because it's written the way you write it in any language. So the question is, my targum shekosvu mikra ikka. Where is there an example in the Megillah of an Aramaic word being written in Hebrew? Amarav Papa, v'nishma pidgam hamelech. So the word pidgam, the Gemara says, is an Aramaic word. The word yikar, meaning covered, is in Aramaic. That by Sifrei Tanakh, not Sifrei Torah, there would be an afkamina as compared to a Sefer Torah. The Tanya, Tefillah mezuzahs, ein nichtav al ashuris. Tefillah mezuzahs have to be written in Hebrew and Ksav ashuris. Rabbi Seinu itir Yavonis. The Chachamim allowed Greek. Gemara, how can you allow Greek? Vaksi vayu. It says vayu advrim ha'ele. Ela ema sfarim nichtav b'chol lashon. Other sfarim, including Nach, can be written in any language. Rabbi Seinu itir Yavanis. And the Chachamim argued Tanakama only Greek. What, the Tanakama assered Greek? Rabbi Seinu lo hitiru sheyichtavu al Yavanis. Sifrei Torah can only be written in Greek as a foreign language. It's not Bishar, it's not any language, only Greek. Why? Tanya Amar Rav Yehuda, Av keshetir Rabbi Seinu Yavanis, lo yitir lo b'sefer Torah mishum ma'aseh de Talmei HaMelech. The only time Chazal permitted to write a Sefer Torah in another language, it's Greek, because of the Septuagint episode in around 300 BCE. Ptolemy the king, who was the Alexandrian Empire, had been divided into three. The Egypt was given to Ptolemy. The Seleucid general was given Palestine and Syria. Initially, Palestine belonged to Egypt, but Syria, and then like India and Pakistan was given to a third general. So the Ptolemy kingdom, the last ruler of the Ptolemy family was Cleopatra. In 31 BCE, she was defeated by Octavian, who changed his name to Augustus. So the Ptolemy reign ruled for almost 300 years. From Alexander died 323 BCE, and Cleopatra ruled until 31 BCE. Julius Caesar died 44 BCE, and Octavian was Julius Caesar's nephew. Mark Antony was the one who supported Octavian against Brutus and Cassius and Casca, though the assassins of Julius Caesar. But eventually Mark Antony fell in with Cleopatra, and Octavia, they needed Egyptian wheat to provide the bread for Rome. So eventually they came and conquered Egypt, and Egypt fell to the Roman Empire at that time. The Palestine was already in the clutches of Rome from already like 106 BCE, which is about 50 years after the Hanukkah story. One of the Hashmonai kings sort of invited the Romans in, and they sort of took over from the Greeks. So what's this Maisa of Talmei HaMelech? The title Maisa b'Talmei HaMelech Shekine Shivim U'Shnayim Zekenim. He gathered 72 Chachamim, Vichnisan b'Shivim U'Shnayim Batim. He put them in a hotel in 72 different rooms. V'lo gila lehem al kinsan. He didn't tell them before he put them in the rooms why he had gathered them. He went individually to each person, and he said, Kisvulu Torahs Moshe Rabchem. Translate the Torah into Greek. The finished product was exactly the same. And you're going to see, they made a lot of strategic changes when they translated into Greek. And every one of the 72 Chachamim changed it the same way, even though they had not discussed this, right? They had no way of discussing it while they were doing it. So what were the changes? Kosvelo Elokim bara Brachis. To say Brachis, bara Elokim, it sounds like another entity, Brachis, created Elokim. They didn't want that. Then, instead of saying Nase Adam, they said Esed Adam, B'Tselem U'Vidmus. They didn't want, again, the thought that there were multiple creators. Vayichal B'Yom HaShishi. There's a drasha. Because by saying Vayichal B'Yom HaShvi, it says Vayichal B'Yom HaShishi, Vayishbos B'Yom HaShvi. they didn't want them to say that Hashem had done some kind of malach on Shabbos. It says Vayichal b'yom hashvi. He stopped on Yom Hashvi, but that implies that some work was done. There's a medrash. Maha haya olam chaser menucha. Basar Shabbos basar menucha. That's the Vayichal b'yom hashvi, but they wouldn't understand the drasha. Then it says Zachar nekeva bra'o. He fashioned them male and female. It didn't say baram, because again, that seems to imply he created two different gufim, each one Zachar nekeva. So he says baro, and the person was born, the first person was born back to back, male and female, with two faces, and then he split them. Then by the Bavel, it said Hava Nerda, let us go down. He said Hava Erda, ve'ebola sham sfasam, I'll mix up their language. Vatitzchak Sara bikroveha. Means Avram said it to himself, and she said it to her relatives. That they shouldn't say on Avram that he laughed and Hashem was makpid, and he was makpid when Sarah laughed. Ki v'apam hargu shor, uvirtzonam akru evus. Because they didn't want that our forefathers were murderers. Because it says, Ki hirgu ish. It says, Vaikach Moshe ishto vespanav, Vayarkivem al nosei vnei adam. It doesn't say al chamor. But they translate to say on carriers. And they didn't say chamor. Which nosei vnei adam is really like a camel. Otherwise, it's embarrassing that Moshe, your leader, didn't have a horse or a camel. He had a lowly donkey. Then Moshe b'nei Yisrael asher yeshvu b'Mitzrayim v'shar haratzos arba me'or shana. In Sefer Shmos it says arba me'os u'shloshim shana, but we calculate the 30 years to be when he had the vision of the Bris Ben Absarim, which is 30 years before Yitzchak was born. And they calculated from the birth, 400 years from the birth of Yitzchak. Then it said Vayishalachas Na'arei Bnei Yisrael. They changed it to Zatute Bnei Yisrael. Which is more of a Lashon Chashivus. This is by Har Sinai. A Nar is a young boy, so it's not kovedik that to say Vayishlachas Na'arei Bnei Yisrael. And the same thing, V'lat Silei Bnei Yisrael Lo Shalach Yado, they changed it to Zatute. Lo Chemed Echad Mehem Nasasi. Again, by Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, the pasuk says Lo Chamor Echad. He didn't. Chemed means something precious. That means he's only attached to his chamor. It's sort of embarrassing to Moshe. Then it says, Asher chalak Hashem lokecha osam la'ir l'chol ha'amim. It should have said, Asher chalak Hashem lochem osam l'chol ha'amim, not la'ha'ir l'chol ha'amim. It might imply that Klal Yisrael was given over to all the nations to work for them. Vayelech vayavod elikim acherim, asher lo tzivisi la'ovdam. Normally it says asher lo tzivisi. Otherwise, they would think that these idols created themselves. Because lo es tziras haraglayim, the when it describes the unkosher animals, lo kasvelo vesar neves, the rabbit. They wrote the animal with small legs. Why? The wife of Tamar Melech her name was Arneves. You see, the Jews are playing around with me. They threw my wife's name into the Torah. So the amazing Nisim. On the other hand, we just had Asar B'Teves, and the Meforshim tell us, of course, the main reason for Asar B'Teves is that Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to Yerushalayim. But if you look in the Mifreshei Halacha, that says, on Ches Teves, Ezra Sofer died, and on Tes Teves, this Septuagint was created. So why do we fast? This was a nace. Well, they fasted because eventually Christianity spread by virtue of the Greek translation of the Bible. Paul, one of the disciples of Yoizela, he was really called Saul of Tarsus. Eventually changed his name to Paul. And he lived like the year 50 CE. You're talking about 30 years after, actually 20 years. Josephus says that Yoshka was killed on 30 CE. So Paul only, I think, was born in 50 CE. Never saw him. And he began to spread some of these stories. And the Bible that they used to go to, because a lot of the initial converts were in Greek-speaking lands, like Syria, Anatolia, Turkey. And it wouldn't have worked without having the Bible written, because they based a lot of their stories on the Bible too. But the Bible was already translated into Greek. So that's one of the reasons why we fast, because of it, because it led to the spread of Christianity. Rashi Gamliel said the Torah, if you can write another language, the only one that's permitted is Greek. The Allah is like that. My time Rav Gamliel. When Ham uncovered Noach's nakedness, Yefet and Shem went in. Actually, it was Shem's idea. Yefet went along. And they covered Noach. So the pasuk says, beauty is to Yefes, and they will dwell in the Oale Shem. So that's the symbiosis between Greek wisdom, technology, science. Of course, nobody has won more Nobel Prizes for their population than the Jews. This is they will dwell in the Ole Shem. The Eime Gomer Magog. Why Yavanis? There's other languages that stemmed from Yefes, like Gomer Magog, not just Yavan. Greek, Chazal understood that the Greek language was the most beautiful language of all the other Lashonos of the Bnei Yefet. Therefore, that's the one that was chosen to be in Oale Shem. Mishnah. Ein bein kol meshach b'shem na-mishcha l'mruv b'gadim el apar ba kol ha-mitzvahs. There's a Kohen Gadol who worked in the Beis HaMikdash wearing 8 begadim. And then there's a Kohen, Yoshia Melech, who lived maybe 30 to 40 years prior to the Churban Bayis Rishon. The Shemen HaMishcha was already hidden in his time. So the Kohanim Gedolim in Bayis Sheni and the period after Yoshia Melech were not Kohen Gadol by virtue of the fact that they were anointed with Shemen HaMishcha, but they were Kohen Gadol by virtue of the fact that they were wearing the 8 begadim. The only difference is elapara bara kol mitzvahs. Only a Kohen Gadol who's meshuch b'shem hamishcha would bring, if he paskined wrong in something that if you did a b'mezid kores, for example, a Kohen Gadol said, "Oh, this chaylev is permitted chaylev," he ate it. So he brings a para ba kol mitzvahs, but you only do that for a Kohen who was meshuach b'shem hamishcha. A Kohen merubah begadim, so in Bayis Sheni they didn't do it. Then ein ben Kohen mishamish l'Kohen she'avar l'par Yom Kippur v'asir seifa. Let's say a Kohen Gadol retires. He had a psul, and somebody else was appointed. And now his psul passed, and he came back to work. And the one that had replaced him got moved aside. So only one of them can bring the Par Yom Kippur and the Asir Seifa, not both. So the Meshuach Melchama, the Meshuach B'Shem HaMishcha versus the Merubah Begadim, says the Gemara, Linyan Par Yom Kippur Asir Seifa Zev Shavit. There, they both could do it. But Masnisim is like Rab Meir. Rab Meir, Hatanya, Merubah Begadim, maybe Par Bakol HaMitzvahs. Rab Meir. Rab Meir says that a Merubah Begadim would bring the Par Bakol HaMitzvahs. Not like the Tanakam of our Mishnah. Acham Mermenu maybe. My time Rab Meir. The Tanya Mashiach. Ainli Alav Meshuach B'Shem HaMishcha. Merubah Begadim in 9. Talmud Lamer HaMashiach. So, b'mayu kimna. So, how have we set up our Mishnah? To look Rab Meir, aim a seifa. Well, let's read the seifa of the very same Mishnah we just learned. Ein ben kohen mishamish kohen sha'avar elapar yom kippur asir seifa. Halachol divreim zev zeh shavit. Regarding all the other things, they're equal. Also, the Rab Meir. So, the Tanya, Yirabah psul. If a kohen gadol had a psul, minu b'kohen acher tachtav, and another kohen was appointed, and then the psul healed. Rishon choyzer avodaso. The first guy gets his job back. Sheni kol mitzvahs kunuk dolaylov, and the other guy also remains a kohen gadol. The Rab Meir. So Rab Yossi Omer, no. Rishon choyzer avodaso. Sheni and Roy, the second guy who worked as a kohen gadol for a day. He's not Roy to be a kohen gadol, not a kohen hedyot. We'll see why. On Rav Yossi, Meister Rav Yossi ben Ulam mitzipor she'ibur b'psul b'kohen gadol minu tachtav u'bo Meister v'nechacham v'amer rishon choyzer avodah. So sheni and Roy lo kohen gadol lo kohen hedyot like Rav Yossi. Now why? Kohen gadol he can't be mishum eva. It's going to cause a fight with the original kohen gadol. Kohen hedyot he can't be mishum mailim b'kodesh v'lo. Once you go up, you can't go down. Comes out Reisha Rabbanon Sefer Rab Meir. On Rav Chizdayin, that's correct. Reisha Rabbanon Sefer Rab Meir. Rav Yosef Omer, no, Rebbe he v'nosav la liba d'tanayit. The whole Mishnah was Rebbe. He paskined like the Chachamim in the Reisha, and he paskined like Rav Meir in the Sefer. But it's not two Tana. It's easier to say that one later Tana was Makabel, the das of one Tana in one part and then the other part, as opposed to learning a Mishnah as a split Mishnah. Mishnah. Ein bein bama gedoyle lebama ketana lepsachim. Well, those of us learning Navi certainly know this subject. We know that when Klal Yisrael came into Eretz Canaan, during the 14 years that they were in Gilgal, you were allowed to have a bama in your backyard. You could bring a private korban in your backyard, even though there was a Mishkan in Gilgal. But then after 14 years, when they moved the Mishkan to Shiloh, for 369 years, the bamas were prohibited. When the Plishtim destroyed the Mishkan, so then there was 57 years when the Mishkan was in Nov and Givon. We just learned about the destruction of Nov Yira Kohanim by Shaul HaMelech. But during that 13 years in Givon, in Nov, and 44 years in Givon, that the Mishkan was there, the bamas were permitted again. There was a bama gdola in the Mishkan in Nov and Givon. And then when the Beis HaMikdash was built by Shlomo, there were no more bamas forever. So what's the difference between a Bama Gdola and a Bama Ketana? Psachim. Korban Pesach could be offered only on the Bama Gdola. Ze'aklal, kol shu nidiv v'nidiv, karev b'bama. Any donative offering, an ola shlamim, could be offered on a bama. Kol she'ena lo nidiv v'lo nidiv, for example, it's a chayva. You have to bring a korban chatis, anything tied to time. So ain't a karev b'bama. Freik the Gemara psachim the sulo. Only psachim, not other things. Ema ke'ein psachim. Other korbanos like psachim, mani Reb Shimon, Tanya Reb Shimon Omer, af tzibur, lo hi kriv well psachim b'chayva shekavu lem zman. The tzibur were makriv the korban pesach, and chayvos that were kavua to time, like the korban atamid, korbanos that were brought on various yontif. Aval chayva shein kavu lem zman hacha v'hacha lo korev. Korbanos like a shogeg on the whole Eda that wasn't brought in either bama. And the mission of Ein Bein Shil Yerushalayim will say for tomorrow. So we're going to start